of the cooperations between Thailand and Korea and Indonesia as well. Okay, thank you, Mr. Kim. Okay,
Thank you, it was mine. Bye-bye.
Dr. Jaruwan, please.
Thank you again, Mr. Kim, and also Ms. Yu Jin Song, who is the First Secretary and who is a coordinator for arts. And thank you so much. The next, we're gonna move to the next session. We have Mr. Dan Whitehead, Country Director from British Council, Thailand, for the topic unpacking the authentic core of cultural influence. But I would like to hand the stage to Dr. Hasno as a
Hello.
moderator for this session. Please, Hasno. Hi.
Hello, Dr. Jaruwan. Thank you very much for the occasion given to me from Indonesia. Hello, Ketwadi. See you again. Yeah, thank you very much. After we have an interesting topic about Korean culture for soft diplomacy, the next session, for the second session, we are going to have another interesting topic. It is about unpacking the authentic core of cultural influence. And for this topic, we have had a qualified speaker from UK and from British Council. He is Mr. Danny Whitehead. Hello, Mr. Danny. Yeah, firstly, before we listen and see the presentation from Mr. Danny Whitehead, I'm going to read the biography of Mr. Danny Whitehead. He is the British Council Country Director in Thailand, and he has worked for over 20 years in international cultural relations in Asia. Prior to Thailand, his posting have included Deputy Country Director China, Country Director Vietnam, Country Director Iran, and other roles in Indonesia. And I have ever met you in a British Council event, Mr. Dani, and also in Democratic Republic Congo and Cambodia. His academic interests are in soft power and international relations, culture, and education in human development contexts, interfaith or intercultural dialogue and cultural engagement for peace building and in post-conflict environments. He speaks a number of languages, including Khmer and French, and is also a playwright and screenwriter. Okay, I think he's very qualified for this topic. So to save the time, the floor is yours, Mr. Dani.
Thank you very much for such a wonderful introduction, and sawadee krap to all my Thai friends out there listening today, and apa kabar to all our colleagues and friends from Indonesia as well. Thank you. Let me just share my screen here. Okay, can you see my presentation there?
Yes, we can see it.
Excellent, good. Well, thank you very much, and it's a real honor to follow Minister Kim from the Embassy for the Republic of Korea. My talk today, I'm going to speak to you about the authentic core of cultural influence. So there'll be some crossover with some of the content that Minister Kim talked about on soft power. And I'm glad that we agree on most things about soft power, although hopefully I'll be able to provide a slightly different angle, looking not just at soft power from the perspective of the UK, but also with two case studies later in the presentation. I'm going to start today by, just move on. I'm going to start today by looking at what is soft power, and some of these ideas will be familiar from Minister Kim's session. And I'm then going to share with you some research that the British Council has done in the G20 countries, looking at why soft power is important, and some of the trends that we see in contemporary soft power, some of the trends that we see different countries or different groupings of countries use when they're looking at promoting their own influence through soft power. I'm then going to look at two brief case studies, a case study of the British Council, and in particular the British Council in Thailand, and then a case study of China and how China is increasingly using its cultural and educational and other assets to promote its own soft power. And then I'm going to wrap up by looking at some potential recommendations for Thailand. It's been very interesting over the last 2 years seeing how Thailand's Soft Power Committee has gone about developing policy and practice for Thailand, and I have some hopefully thought-provoking suggestions at the end. So first of all, what is soft power? Well, as Minister Kim pointed out, it was Joseph Nye who first codified what soft power was, when Nye described it as the ability to achieve a country's goals through attraction rather than coercion or payments. And from the British Council side, we believe that soft power arises from the attractiveness of a country's culture, its political ideals and policies, its cultural assets, and its education assets. And we look at a number of different rankings globally to assess how different countries are doing with their own soft power. One of them is the Portland Soft Power Index, which again describes soft power in a very similar way to Joseph Nye. It's about positive attraction and using persuasion and influence to achieve foreign policy goals. And I think that's important at the moment to focus on that, because sometimes I think there's a bit of a confusion, and sometimes people talk about soft power in terms of things for the UK, like the Premier League, which is very, very popular here in Thailand, or like the monarchy, or the Beatles, or some of our other cultural assets. And I think it's important that those are soft power assets. They are not in themselves soft power. Real soft power is the outcomes that a country gets when it utilizes those assets. It's the outcomes in terms of persuasion, attraction, and influence. It isn't the assets in themselves. And this confusion I see quite a lot, not just from students or colleagues or people that I speak to, but I also see this at government level. When governments talk about building their soft power, often when I look at government policies, it's not actually about building soft power, it's about promoting the development of soft power assets. And I think that as a first point, I'd like you perhaps to try and keep that in mind through the presentation today. Soft power is what you do with it. And there are a number of different terms which are sometimes used interchangeably. And I think that before we go into it, I think it's useful to actually look at the difference in these terms, because they are very different things. People talk about diplomacy, they talk about cultural diplomacy, they talk about public diplomacy and soft power. And often these terms are used interchangeably when actually they're very, very different things. And so just very quickly, when I talk about traditional diplomacy, I talk about the traditional relations between one country's government and another country's government. It's that state-to-state engagement, either from representatives of the government or through the diplomatic service, through the embassies. And there you can see our ambassador, His Excellency Mark Gooding, with the former Minister for Higher Education, Science, Research and Innovation, Minister Supamas. So traditional diplomacy there is something that I think we're all familiar with, which is the government-to-government engagement. Now, public diplomacy is diplomacy that is run by the embassies or by the state in its engagement not with the other state, but with the people of another country. And so the critical thing here is that it is government to people. It's where one country communicates to the public in another country. So, for example, Minister Kim, who spoke so eloquently just before, speaking to all of you on the call today, is a great example of public diplomacy. It's the South Korean government speaking directly to the people of Thailand in the aim of promoting its own national interests. So if traditional diplomacy is government to government, public diplomacy is government to people. And a subset of that is cultural diplomacy. Again, this is run by the government. It's when a government of one country speaks to the people of another country, but uses its cultural assets in that communication. Here we can see the Deputy Head of Mission from the British Embassy with the Premier League trophy at an event in Thailand. It's the UK government using the Premier League, using cultural assets, but communicating directly with the people of Thailand. So again, it's led by government, it's one way, and it's based on it's an instrumental value of culture. It's using culture to achieve a certain foreign policy aim or to achieve the aims of that particular government. Now, the last term here is cultural relations, and this is what the British Council, this is what we say that we do. We are not an organisation that engages in public diplomacy or cultural diplomacy because we are not 100% part of the UK government. We are independent, arm's length body, and we represent the people of the UK. And so the difference between this is when the British Council brings UK universities, UK artists, UK researchers, UK students together with Thai, Indonesian researchers, scientists, artists. That's not an engagement between the government of the UK and the people in other countries. It's engagement between the people of the UK and people of other countries. And so for me, that's a critically important difference. That's a people-to-people engagement, and it is not one way. It is not the government speaking to people. It is a two-way dialogue between the people of the UK and the people of other countries, which is founded on delivering mutual benefit. And it doesn't have an instrumental value of culture. It's not using culture to achieve a foreign policy objective. It's based on the intrinsic value of culture, that culture builds understanding and it builds trust. And so if you try and keep those things in mind, I think that'll help when we get later on in the presentation and looking at the case studies of how the British Council tries to promote UK's influence through cultural relations and through soft power. And I've put these, all the different kinds of engagements on a scale here where you can see at one side, let me just move this out of the way. You can see there we have foreign development aid and assistance through language education, science and research, cultural exchange, showcasing, advocacy, and that all falls under the soft power. It's all activities that are done that try to build influence without the use of coercion or force. And that's as opposed to hard power, such as military actions or sanctions or coercion. And you can see at the bottom how cultural relations and cultural and public diplomacy sit across all those areas. And one of the questions that I get asked a lot is which is more powerful, which is better, soft power or hard power? And I don't think really there's any answer to that question other than neither is better than the other, but what we are aiming for at the UK level is neither just soft power nor hard power, but it is smart power. It's how we use both the